Happy Wednesday.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Downey Association of Realtor members. We're so excited to be here today. My name is Jennifer Avellan. I am your current 2022 president for the Downey Association of Realtors. And I'm also the team leader for the Avellan group at Keller Williams, Southeast Los Angeles, based in Downey, California. So I want to thank all of you today for joining us to celebrate and embrace the National Hispanic Heritage Month. We have put together this amazing panel of amazing ladies for the Greater Downey Association Realtor members who are also leaders and strong women in the real estate community to talk about Hispanic heritage and Hispanics as consumers. We have today amazing realtor Maria Cibrian with C21 All-Stars.
Hello. Hello, and thank you, Jennifer and Downey Association, for having me. It is a pleasure, and I'm here to commemorate and celebrate the National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Amazing. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sonia Moncayo with eXp Realty of California. Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, and thank you to the DAOR. I'm very happy to be in this panel with the Latino Heritage because, you know, as Latinos, we love to be helping each other, and this is going to be an incredible Zoom.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here today, Sonia. Last but not least, we have Lourdes Cotaya with Sunrise Realty. Welcome, Lourdes.
Thank you so much. You know, it is truly an honor to be here today with these powerful women and be part of this powerful, because that's what it is, powerful event. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome today. And again, thank you ladies so much for being here today on today's panel. Are you ladies ready?
We're ready.
Yes, we're ready.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's get started. So why don't you ladies tell us about your family heritage, your immigration story to the U.S.? Lourdes, let's get started with your story. We're excited to hear about your heritage as well as your immigration story.
Well, there's so much to share with you. I could go on for hours. I think that every immigrant, I don't even know how many minutes I have, but I'll keep it super short and sweet to the point. Every immigrant that comes to this great country has a story. My story is a 9-year-old little girl who experienced 4 years of painful visits from the government of Cuba, not allowing my parents to exit the island. For 4 years, they threatened my parents. We lived in a dictatorial regime. After 4 years, they finally gave my parents the documentation and allowed us to leave the island. My mother refused to go out to the field and cut sugarcane. She was a high-end, what do you call it, seamstress. And my dad was a mechanic. So for 4 years, after 4 years, they came and they did what we call an inventory of every single item in the house. And I remember picking up my favorite doll and running outside and around the corner and leaving that doll with one of my friends because I didn't want them to have my doll. And after everything was said and done, they sealed the house and they allowed us to walk out with only clothing and so on and so forth for 3 days. We had to stay at a neighbor's house. Fast forward, we spent another 3-4 days in the airport. You know, they would make it easy for us to leave. We came in through the a program through the Catholic Church called the Freedom Flights. Once we arrived in Florida, we stayed in Freedom Tower for 3 days and then flew to LA, where I was raised in Maywood. All my family lived in Maywood. All first generation is gone. That's where I grew up. That's where we purchased our first home as my family. Once I got married, we purchased our first home in Maywood, then we bought another one in Bell, and then we made the big jump to Downey.
Awesome. So it sounds like real estate was important early on when you first settled here in the US.
Absolutely, and that's one of the questions that's ahead. What did the family showed you? And I don't want to jump to that question, but the fact of the matter is that I've been in the sales since I was 12. I sold Avon, but we'll get to that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, Lourdes. Sonia, let's get started with your family heritage and your immigration story to the United States.
Well, I came late, I didn't came when I was very young. I came when I was around 30 years old with my daughter. I make a decision because I didn't have a good relationship with my ex-husband. So I decided to take a leap of faith to go to the United States because I was here before when I was 19 years old. I came as an exchange student to Tennessee. So to learn English, but didn't help me too much anyways. But I just was here for 1 year and then I come back and say, I'm going to come back to go to United States and maybe save some money and come back and move to another city. That was my idea. So I came with my daughter and a year went by and I just fell in love with an Argentina guy here in the United States. And I just decided to stay here. So that was my story of love. And since that time, I was 5 years with that relationship and I have my 2 kids. So I have my 2 kids with me. And since that day, I'm being a single mother for a long time. And the first thing I did with him, at the second year that I came to the United States, I say, we need to buy, a place to live. So we have the opportunity to buy a condo in Long Beach. And after, a couple of years when I was single, I bought the second condo next to my first condo, and I'm making a huge 2,000 square footage place. So I was very comfortable with my big closet. Latinas, we love clothes. So I was happy with my closet, happy with my kids in a Catholic school. So my life was very good, but also I was always working very hard to get everything for my kids. For me, the most important part, as my father always told me, my father was a lawyer, he was a magister, and he was a very strong man. And I think I have from him that kind of character. My mother was very sweet, very kind. She was a housewife, but she was always encouraged us to be always playing the golden rule with everyone. And I think the combination of my parents made me the way I am. I'm a very strong woman, and I just am an entrepreneurial all my life. Like, Lourdes, I just sold many things when I was even 11 years old, 12 years old. I used to have a little luggage, and my aunties and uncles, they say, what do you sell today? Because I always selling something, so I was an entrepreneur since I was 12, 13, 14 years old. And I did a lot of stuff in the United States. I did many businesses. And the last business I stayed was the real estate. Of course, my house. After that, I got, like I say to everybody, you can start in some place and then you go bigger and bigger and bigger. And then just purchase my beautiful house, my little mansion that I have, and I just, live comfortably with my kids.
Exactly. So success doesn't happen overnight, right?
No, overnight. I came with $4,000 in my pocket. That was my only money I have. And, and I just get my way up, in life by working and keep pushing up.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Sonia. Thank you. Now, let's continue with Maria. Maria, let's hear about your family heritage as well as your immigration story to the United States.
Okay, well, this goes back to my parents. They were from, they passed on recently, so, but they are from the north part of Mexico, Monterrey, and my mom was from Coahuila, which I think is this picture that we're looking at in the background. And they met down there, they got married, and they decided that they had my 2 older brothers. That we come from a family of 7. So once they got married, they decided to just pack up and move on to, bigger things, he wanted to probably not only have a bigger family, but think of doing something. And my dad was always a welder, even back then in Monterrey. So they ended up migrating to Chicago.
Oh.
And that's where the other 5 of us were born, in Illinois. And in the beginning, it was rough from, what my mom would tell me. They got there with pretty much nothing, just their clothes, and they drove from Monterrey to Illinois. And they were renting a place. They, sacrificed a lot, leaving their family behind, like their parents. And they wanted to just, think bigger, do bigger things. And I guess in Mexico, they thought that, they've already done what they did and just wanted to move on. So moving to Illinois, though it was a little tough for them, living in a 1-bedroom with, my 2 older brothers and themselves. My dad went on to work for General Motors. He got an opportunity to work for General Motors and become a welder. And he was with that company for many, many years. And like I said, later on, my older sister, 2 older sisters came in. I'm like number 5 in the family. I've got a younger brother and sister. And growing up in a household of 7, you could imagine, money could be tight, but my parents made it work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, although she always wanted to work, but, leaving kids behind her at a daycare, that wasn't going to work out financially and wouldn't probably make sense. So she was a stay-at-home mom, she sacrificed a lot and she was the money manager of the family. My dad would make the bread, bring it home, and my mom would manage the money on how to make it, last for groceries, clothing, you could imagine, schooling, etc. So what I have learned from my parents is they kind of put that behind all of us, is to learn how to manage your money and make it work. So you budget yourself so that you're not overspending or finding yourself in a bind in any way. They also set, the expectations of being a hard worker, what you put into as far as work, as far as, education, that's what's going to pay off later on. It might not be fun, going through the process, or, you have other avenues, or, taking the wrong direction. And then one thing is for sure, my dad was really strict, and so was my mother. At least she was stricter with the 5 older kids, but the 2 younger ones probably got away with more. But I kind of thank them.
It always happens, right?
Yeah, because they kind of set that to where that it's going to pay off, even though when you're young and they're like yelling at you, or you're in trouble for coming home late or hanging around with the wrong crowd for that matter. Back then you're like, oh my God, I hate you and all this. But at the same time, I thank her. I thank her for being the way they were, because who knows, how you would have turned out, or I would have turned out, or any of our siblings. But I think they set that foundation of saying, work, go to school, and do what you're supposed to, and set your goals and write down your goals and know what you want to do later on in life, and you can make it happen. And
those are beautiful stories, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Maria. We're so excited to hear. So we have Mexico in the house, we have Cuba in the house, and we have Ecuador in the house.
Yay!
Now, before I jump to our next question, I wanted to share an important statistic. So there's a statistic that says Hispanics are declined for conventional home loans at a rate that's 7% points higher than the national average. That's a really important statistic. Again, Hispanics are declined for conventional home loans at a rate that's 7 points higher than the national average. So knowing that, ladies, what financial behavioral traits do you generally see amongst Hispanic Americans that helps hinder their access to mortgage loans in the current underwriting environment? Let's start off with Sonia, because I know that she is also in the financing industry.
Yeah, you know what? I think that was for last year, because most of the properties was the listing agents didn't accept FHA. They wanted to go with conventional loans. So most of the people who are in the conventional, they need to have a very good FICO score starting with 660. So that takes away a lot of Latinos because we need to continue to educate our people to let them know the FICO score is very important. So people don't understand that when they have, 580, whatever, is not going to happen. And also the way we save our money, we still have the culture bank, I say, in their home. So they still don't have the money in the bank. They don't believe in this, in the bank institutional, to put their money over there because they think they have a risk because of the background. They came from countries that sometimes, they are not so stable. So they are afraid to put their money in a bank. So that's why of the two factors that we don't qualify people in conventional, and also the ratios are very, shorter. So in FHA, the ratios are bigger, and in conventional, the ratios are shorter. So it's hard to qualify with the income that the people has because we still have an average of the income around 60,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 in the Latino community. We still have that wealth gap that we are increasing right now, but we still have that problem that we are not be able to surpass. But right now, I just always positive. I say right now we come back to the FHA part because those golden days of the cash offers and everything changed. The interest rate is super high. So we're going to come back again to the good financial FHA with a down payment assistance, maybe helping the buyers to foreclosing costs. But I think the most important part in everything overall is the education. We need to continue to educate. We as a realtors, we have a big responsibility to educate our people. Every time we meet someone, just don't leave it just to give information and let it go. Let's give a little education about FICO score, about rates, about programs that we have in the market, because maybe it's not the client for today, but maybe that guy in 3, 4, 5 years is going to be, somebody else is going to serve them, but somebody already giving them the education. I think education is the main thing for the Latino community to change our narrative. I think I believe in education like a big thing. Yeah.
You brought some really, really good points there, Sonia. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I think in addition to not only those financial behavioral traits, like you said, generally we have lower FICO scores, we have higher debt to income ratios, and we don't save as much money. Those seem to be hindrances to the opportunity of owning real estate and also building wealth, which is through real estate. And then you also brought up about FHA loans. I mean, the question was, decline for conventional home loans, but you brought up a really valid point is most Hispanics tend to lean towards purchasing with FHA loans. So we were even further back on having that opportunity to purchase a home in the recent real estate market. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sonia. Maria, what are your thoughts on the financial behavioral traits that you see among Hispanic Americans that basically is a deterrent or hinders their access to mortgage loans in our current real estate market?
Well, I agree with the points that Sonia brought up. I think we need to educate our community and let them know that, once in a while I run in with clients that say, well, I have a lot of cash, I have a lot of down payment, but little do they know that credit here in the United States is very important. It actually supersedes the cash. So credit is everything. So it starts there with, like Sonia said, is educate the client about how important it is to have good credit and to keep that debt to income ratio. If you're going to use those cards, make sure you're managing them appropriately, not being late, or just simply use them and pay them off if you can, or don't use them at all for that matter. But I think educating the client on how to manage their credit, their money, think about saving, maybe learning how to budget. There's so many classes on how to budget and manage your money, which I think it starts there, and that's by educating the clients. So usually when clients come into my office and I pre-qualify them, even if they don't qualify, we put them on a plan and set them up for future purchase. It doesn't matter if it's going to be 6 months, a year, 2, 3. I put them on a drip campaign where we're always going to be in touch, and I'll follow up with them every couple of months just to see where they're at. How are we doing with the credit? Have we been able to save some money and put it aside for purchasing, that type of thing? But I think
so we have a strong faith. We have that commitment to ensuring that the families are building wealth. If it's not at that moment, definitely it'll be in the near future.
In the near future, exactly.
I would like to add it in that point, because I think we need to just to explain to people the importance of creating wealth through the homeownership. So I think that is the main point to start, because people don't see the value of owning a home. I'm going to go back to my country when I retire. I'm going to have a little casita in Guatemala, whatever. So they don't see the value. So there's something that we need to teach also as realtors, like, the credit and everything. But the first thing we should touch the subject about the topic about how important is to have a homeowner, how to become a homeowner, how you create the wealth to the generational wealth for your family and change the narrative of the Latino community in the United States. So that's very important for us to touch those kind of topics. Yeah.
Beautiful. So the solution is
example.
education, right, ladies?
Yes, a good example also is when you tell somebody, okay, you're gonna put $20,000 in the bank, and in the long run, that is not gonna fold over as if you're gonna invest it in real estate.
Exactly.
It's gonna give you more equity in the long run in 2 or 3 years from now. So, if you kind of sit there and explain that, it all makes sense. And you'd be surprised the motivation that people walk away with and decide that this is it. We're going to set up a goal and a plan to get this done and taken care of.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Education, ladies, education. What are your thoughts, Lourdes, on the financial behavioral traits that we see amongst Hispanic Americans that helps hinder their access to mortgage loans?
Well, what can I say besides what Sonia and Maria said already? I believe that it needs to begin in middle school. I think that our young children need to learn about financing, so much so that I think another subject should be replaced by financing. As far as my buyers or buyers in general, or the Hispanic community, the behavioral traits are one that we need to, as Sonia Maria said, we need to educate them. Usually their first big investment is a vehicle. And when they come to our offices, well, I have a $700 vehicle payment. Well, you had the opportunity to purchase. Unfortunately, you really need to stretch. And some of them walk away without the possibility of owning a home at the present time. So as Sonia said, everything is education, education, education. Let me talk about first-time home buyers. When first-time home buyers, in 33 years, I have not changed my technique. My technique is always the same. Very simple, but very detailed. I'm really a power freak. I have a questionnaire that I go through. I spend a lot of time with all buyers and sellers, but talking about the first-time home buyers, because I think that the market is going to go that way. We're going to see a lot more of the first-time home buyers, although interest rates are, I mean, look at what happened to the market yesterday, right? However, like Sonia mentioned, there are going to be other programs out there, and there's going to be a lot of more homes available for first-time home buyers. So the buyers that were not able to purchase, that we have in our databases, that were not qualifying or unable to purchase because of the competition in the past 2-3 years, well, I'm calling them back, and I'm telling them, get ready, let's come back, let's visit the goal, and let's talk about it, let's discuss it. I think that preparing the clients is very important. I go through a very thorough questionnaire. I even ask them if they have children. Are they going to public school, private school? Where do you work? Are you working out of the home? How much cash do you have? And I'll give you a really good example. Young couple, second generation. I mean, doing this for 33 years, I'm getting second and third generation. And I'm so blessed and honored to do that. Young couple, they thought that they would only qualify for a mobile home. So we began to crunch numbers. And one of the things that I do with first-time home buyers and even second-time home buyers is I give them a very simple white sheet of paper. And I tell them, okay, let's make a list of all your expenses. So it's not just about showing property and here's the key. It's about being a counsel, counselor to them. And I think that we're also going to see, by the way, more buyers workshops. Those kind of went away. But I think that we're going to begin to see more of that. And like Sonia said, the programs, there's going to be a lot more programs. But anyway, I can go on forever. But this young couple walks in, second generation, and says, hey, I think we only qualify for a mobile home. I said, why is that? And so when we started crunching numbers, they realized that they could perhaps purchase a condo. And I got them into a 1.5-year program, meaning this, you need to pay this off, you need to take care of this negative credit item on your credit. Great jobs. They just didn't know how to save. And most of our Hispanic people do not know how to save. They prefer to go on a weekend, spend $400 on nice lunch or dinner, rather than, hey, perhaps if I save $400 a month, it will eventually get me into a home. And so I prepare them that way. And so a year later, not only did they have excellent credit, but they realized that they could own a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home in Santa Fe Springs. And so I talked to the ladies, you need to stop doing your nails. That's $100 a month. Guys, you like your soccer games? Cable TV is a luxury. It's not a necessity. So I go through and I tell them what their wants are and what their really needs are. I talk about going to the stores with their children. Children don't need a ton of toys or whatever. And so I'm very thorough that way. And then we meet with the lender and we crunch numbers. And I tell them, look, this is how much you're making. These are your real debt. These are your needs, not your wants, your needs. And so you're going to begin making that monthly payment now. Come October 1st, you're going to have your first payment. Oh my gosh, we can't afford that. I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And if you see that you can, then we readjust the numbers. So it's really education. And I couldn't emphasize enough on that. As Sonia and Maria said, education, 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 because the way we were raised is when we landed in Florida, the first thing my dad said to my brother, who was 4 years older than me, welcome to freedom and welcome to the land of opportunity. Many of the Hispanics forget this is the land of opportunity, but it takes many sacrifices. And as Maria said, it takes hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so many are complacent.
So what does this say, ladies? Actually, you can't see
move.
it.
You have to move and you have to stay in one place. Oh,
It's blending in with your background.
I know. Okay,
Yeah.
well, anyways, it was a good idea. It says education.
oh, education,
okay.
yeah.
So that's the
Education.
recurring theme that I'm getting from the three of you. And I know Lourdes, you helped me segue into our next question, which is, besides being bilingual, what benefits and programs and tools do you use to assure that Hispanic buyers are successful? And it sounds that you become the advisor, like a financial advisor to them, in addition to being a real estate agent, right? You're helping them build wealth. You're a wealth advisor, financial advisor. So you pretty much answered that question. Did you want to add anything else to that?
Well, Lourdes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sonia. Basically, time. We, as real estate agents, we need to, and I think the market shift will allow us to do more of that. Time, spend more time with our clients, educate them on what acquiring a real estate property really means, explaining to them that once they own a property, they must get a living trust. And I give them 3 attorneys that they could choose from. I'm not an attorney, I tell them, but it's the whole package. It's the whole package deal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I just want to
Go
add
ahead,
a little
Sonia.
bit.
Sonia, what are besides being bilingual, what benefits, programs, and tools do you use in your everyday business to ensure that Hispanic buyers are successful in building wealth?
I just wanted to add the thing about the first thing. I think the Latinos, we have to think our narrative of thinking, because we think sometimes that we don't deserve. We don't deserve. There is people who came here with a lot of, from very, very poor background. So they say, how I'm going to buy a house? Why? Why, when I say, why you are comfortable to live in one bedroom with 4 kids. Why you're comfortable to do that? Why you think that you don't deserve? Because sometimes people think that they don't deserve to change the narrative. So nobody in my family ever owned anything. So why I want to have that? It's like Lourdes says, sometimes people just spend money and things that fructus. They are not real. They are real things. So it's our responsibility. Maybe we're lawyers, maybe we are doctors, we are everything because we're the first people that they come to. So as Latinos, we need to have that responsibility. Don't let it go the person. If the dreams are not there, that is not the motivation, we need to put that in, we need to put the seed in them. First, the motivation, like she says, the education. We have to start again. The first-time home buyers. I love first-time home buyers. I've been doing first-time home buyers all my life since I had my license. And people, maybe it's not today, maybe after 3-4 years, but they remember you. Remember, Sonia? Remember the seminar like 4 years ago? I listen what you say, I fix my credit, I save my money, and I want to use service. So that is a compliment for us that we change the lives of people. It's so important to, what we do in this world. What we do? Nothing. We just work, get money, spend, and go. No, what we do is to leave something behind us. We fix all these people's lives. We change the narrative of our people, their kids, their grandkids. So I am the first generation. Some people are the second generation, and they're going to be the third generation. So we put in the seats for everyone. So it's our responsibility. It's a huge responsibility, but we have to take it. So education,
Great.
again, education, and I love this situation that we are. I love that we have the highest rates, because right now we're going to stop these bad agents who just take advantage of the people, and we need to bring back the first-time home buyers and giving them the opportunity for the American dream. So I love everything that happens.
Sonia, it sounds like you do that through education and also being an advisor to them.
Advisor.
Great job.
Yeah,
Thank you
advisor.
so much. So Maria, what are the tools, benefits, programs that you use to assure that Hispanic buyers are successful?
Okay, well, just to kind of piggyback what Sonia said, it is true. And it's not that people feel they don't deserve it. I think sometimes the community settles. They just settle and they think, okay, well, I'm fine here in this 1 bedroom, but they don't realize that if you really set your mind to it and your goals and learn how to budget yourself, you can take that next step and maybe, move in onto a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, or a 2-bedroom for that matter. Just a little short story of a client that once called me. I've been doing this for 20 years, and she had called and said, I'm looking for a rental. And through going through steps and questions, phone conversation with her, I had asked, like, what was her budget? Had she ever tried to qualify? Well, after bringing her into the office, getting her qualified, instead of, putting her into a rental, we were able to put her into her first home.
Beautiful.
So it falls in that same category about educating the client, taking that time to just ask those questions and make them and educate them and say, did you realize that, in today's rent, I mean, just by looking at that, you look at today's rents versus today's mortgage, it's a no-brainer that you have to at least give yourself that opportunity and look into home ownership.
And also I think as educators, we need to also protect their assets. Like she said, the living trust. Do you have a living trust? Just don't leave the client. Sometimes as a realtors, we think, oh my God, my thing is just to show properties or just, get my check.
Sell homes, right?
Yeah, we have to think that we have a big responsibility with our clients, because like I say, it's the 3rd generation. I have the same thing like you, because we've been so long. So we have already the kids are coming to us, so the kids and also the cousins, the this and that. So we have those repetitive clients because we build our wealth, but also we build the wealth of different families. And that's the best compliment that we can have, like again, education and a lot of, maybe what I say is maybe, what is the word exactly that I was just thinking? Like innovative ways, down
creative and innovative ways, right?
First-time home buyers, first-time buyer seminars, fixing their credit, give the opportunity to maybe you have your cousin. Oh, because some people doesn't want to ask favors. Maybe you have your cousin. Maybe they can come and help you with their credit. and they can be a cosigner. So always give those options,
Options, yeah.
all the options that you can get from put the people in a home, because that's the first thing that we can create a wealth to a Latino community. But by wealth
Great.
creation and home ownership, that's the first step that we have to push to all the Latinos.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sonia. So I have Maria, who's been in the industry for 20 years. Sonia, ¿cuántos años?
Yo ya me perdí. Okay, before I came, had my license, I was working with, I don't know, you remember Las Flores Escrow, Bob Master. So I started in the field of the real estate with them as a marketing person, you know, going to visit all the offices. That's how I started in the real estate. And then I met a broker selling clothes to her. And she told me, Sonia, why you don't come here? Because I used to do a lot of stuff. Selling clothes, be a babysitter, but put in market. I was like 3-4 jobs because I had 2 girls and I wanted giving them the best education I can. So I was working super hard.
And you
So-
had a mortgage payment.
And I have a mortgage payment, of course, and I'm a single mom, and I'm sorry, my ex-husband, but I have $500 for him, and they have me for too much. So I really had to work. So I went over there and she told me, why you don't come here, you know, to work with me? So I was doing open houses for her. So that's how I just started. So I have a lot of maybe like a 22, 24 years, but maybe my license is 16 to 17, because in that time, my girls and my guys, I didn't have papers. I was una mojadita aquí en Estados Unidos. Yeah, I just didn't have a paper.
That
so I
didn't
was not
stop
able.
you, right? That didn't stop. Nothing's going to stop Sonia.
No way. Yeah, I didn't have the opportunity to have my license, but you know what? I work whatever it takes to get the bread to my kids, whatever.
Awesome. Lourdes, how many years in the industry?
33.
Oh my God.
Only 33.
33, 1989. So I worked in a law firm. I had a really good position in a law firm until I realized that I wanted to start a family. And by the way, I chose to have one beautiful daughter. She's getting married at the end of October.
Yeah.
She's now 30 years old. And so I worked for the law firm, and one November, I remember I came home and I told my husband, you know what, great bonuses, et cetera, a lot of glamour involved back then. I did a lot of PR. That's more than anything what I did for them. But there was no room for growth, really. So I told him, you know, I want to be self-employed. I want to do my own thing. I want to have more free time. Ha, 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 more free time. Shortly thereafter getting my real estate license, I realized the weekends were not my weekends anymore. But so I went to school. There was a school, I don't remember the name, in downtown LA. So I actually went to school. Remember, we didn't have technology. So you had to drive to these places. So I took my course, I passed, I got my license, and I went to work for a small office on Florence by the bowling alley there. It was called Great Performance, and that's where I began, 1989. April of 89. 89 was great. 90 was good, very good. 91 is when things began to shift, just like now. And so from 91 through, I want to say 96, it was a challenge. I would hold open houses Saturdays and Sundays, and absolutely no one would walk in. Like a fly didn't fly in. It was quite a challenge. And but from there, you know, I've experienced 3-4 down markets, and it is what it is. You just
Every market's an opportunity, right, Lourdes?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And
Right.
There's always going to be a buyer and a seller. Yeah.
Yep.
Always.
No matter what happens. Well, thank you
Right,
for
and-
sharing those amazing answers, ladies. So let's go to our next question is, do you think that Hispanic millennials are relying on their parents and grandparents to be homeowners by purchasing a home together or properties together? Or are they purchasing themselves? What are you seeing, Maria, in the industry?
I am noticing that the millennials, I feel like they got on that Bitcoin and investing, and you'd be surprised how many millennials have qualified, where they showed me their statements where some of the money, not all, it was coming from investments. So I think this generation moving on to, Gen Z, they're starting to get into that investing and, like the Bitcoin and all. I've never really paid attention to that, but these younger kids are really going into that. And I've seen them buy with their parents or like another brother or sister, but pulling money from there. What I do think is the Gen Z, I think they'll probably be more reliant on their parents. Why? Because I think these poor kids came into a world where, we've had wars, we've had pandemics, they've been a little bit more isolated to the outside. But I think that at the same time, it's up to the parents to educate them and, set these goals for them and let them know that, the world's going to be the world, everything's going to be happening, but that should not stop you from continuing and moving forward and setting your goals. Because you'll hear that a lot, that they're saying that a lot of the Gen Z they're arriving to all this madness and, changes in the world for that matter.
It's
And
amazing that you
why should I do that? Almost like giving up, but it's up to us, to kind of build that into them. And let
I think you also bring up another point, Maria, which is like if you look at our parents' views of money coming from different countries, right? That lack of trust in the financial institutions, where we have a lot of our, older generation buyers not putting money in bank accounts, not trusting financial institutions.
Money.
Yeah, now comparing it to the new generations where they're actually utilizing financial institutions to make money, to build wealth, right? So it's a really good point you bring when we compare older generations to the new generations.
Right. It's giving opportunity, but I do see that the millennials not quite, but I think the Gen Z probably more, but it's not a bad thing. I mean, bottom line is get into the market, buy something. And I think it was Sonia that mentioned about living trust. That's also important to educate at least, the baby boomers, letting them know that, hey, you need a living trust. I think the younger generation knows that already. But as far as like millennials, I don't necessarily think, I think they've been learning how to save money and put it away or invest. The Gen Z be a little bit different, I think, with that group. These are just my thoughts. Again, everybody's thoughts might be different, but I feel like they might be a little bit more reliant on family or grandparents or a parent.
Beautiful. What are your thoughts, Lourdes, on basically the new generation when it comes to purchasing homes? Do you see them purchasing homes on their own or purchasing it with their parents, grandparents, other siblings? What are you seeing? What are your thoughts?
My personal experience with the millennials is just like Maria's. They work hard. Many professionals. They've saved their monies, and not too many need co-signers or money. When they come to me, they might have 20, and I tell them, well, we need 40. What can we do to get you to 40,000? And so it is a process, but the millennials are making it happen. Now, Generation Z, that's a different story. I think that as parents, many of the parents teach their children, not teach, but their experience with the parents is, I'll give you this, I'll buy you a new car. They're graduating from high school, the children nowadays, and the parents buy them a brand new car. Well, an 18-year-old doesn't need a new car. So unfortunately, for Generation Z, I don't think, and this is just my personal opinion, that they're going to have what it takes for them to easily acquire real estate. The market is the market. The global market is the global market. There are, as Sonia mentioned early on, there are many shifts, and we as real estate agents, we need to be very well informed so we can pass on the information. It's just not the United States, it's the global market. It's politics. I always say you may not do politics, but politics is going to do you. With that said, millennials are pretty strong buyers. They're very strong buyers. And with technology, it amazes me how well educated most of them are when it comes to the process of buying a home and what they need to do. Very, very well informed, most of them that I deal with. Regulation Z is a different story. It looks a little blim for them. It doesn't look really, but that's just my personal opinion.
Awesome. Well, I think as leaders in our industry, we'll be the movers and shakers to make sure Gen Z is going to be able to purchase
That's
homes,
right.
right, ladies?
I was gonna add to that. Yes, it's up to us to make sure we keep them strong, just as strong
Education.
generations. Yes.
The thing of the generation Z, I think, because the way you said, Lourdes, the people are like, they was very spoiled. Parents was very busy because that will be maybe the second generation for some people. So that people was with the apps, with the phones, with the Nintendo, not Nintendo, because I don't even know what is the new game that they play. But I see from my nephews, my younger nephews, you know, that they just was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, in the computer playing games and things like that. And I see that is a problem. It's a problem in the society, because the kids don't interact with others. So they don't have, you know, they don't see the real world. So they are in another world that is not the real world. So I think they will take a longer to get into the point. The same thing was with the millennials. Remember when the millennials, we was trying to sell to the millennials and they didn't care. They say, no, I'm okay with my mom living in her house. Why am I going to buy a house when I have my mom, her house, and live comfortable? What is the reason? I better go and spend the money in different things. And right now we see a lot of millennials from the 28 years old to the 33, 34, that they want to buy a house. Those are our customers right now. So they change. The generation Z, I think, is going to be the same. They're in the wonderland right now. They're in another world. They're still in the phone. They're still in their games. But the thing is, because it's the second generation of our population, because we're a young culture, or I don't know, Latinos,
Younger parents.
you know, yeah, our narrative. So people, you know, they start thinking, you know, right now, you have to educate yourself first. That's, I think it's across the board. Everybody understands that they have to go to college. It's not an option. Like we have in our countries, Jennifer, Ecuador is like that, no? No hay otra oportunidad en Ecuador. You have to finish the high school and go to university. There is no option. Oh, mommy, I want to do, no. You go to university and then you want to be a hippie. My father used to say, if you want to be a hippie, it's fine for me. But first of all, you have to study. You go and finish your university and then you do whatever you want in your life. So in our generation was like that. In this generation is the same right now. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but 20, 30 years ago, we have so many kids that was pregnant. You know, some little kids, 14, 15-year-old girls was pregnant. You don't see now anymore. You don't see too many girls pregnant. Because they start seeing, you know, that's not the way to go out. The way to go out is to go to study, to go in college, to have a different kind of life, a different narrative. So I think that Generation Z, when they going to have the opportunity, I think they will be fine, and they will be also lucky, like the millennials, because we, the first generation, the baby boomers, already put the nest to them, so they're not going to be like in a zero, because they will have for the down payment, they will have for the closing costs, they will have a good FICO score because the parents already educated them, but maybe they will take a little while to wake up because of the way they live, like you say, you know, the pandemic, so many things that happen, wars and a lot of stuff. You know, the politics too, because we've been in 4 or 5 years fighting with different kind of politics. So all those things are dangerous for the people. So
well, thank you so much.
A lot of negative.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Sonia. So we're going to jump to our last question. So as Hispanic females, what have you learned from your family, and what are you teaching your children about building wealth? Or what have you taught your children about building wealth? Because I know some of us probably have children that already have homes.
Yes. Well, for
Let's
me,
start off with Lourdes.
Lourdes, go ahead, Lourdes.
Thank you, Sonia. You know, there's so much that we have that will empower our children and the younger real estate generation. I think that it's, as realtors and powerful, experienced males and female realtors that are in our community, I think that I really believe that it's part of our responsibility to talk to not just our children, but then the new generation, because the market that we're heading may not be a 2008 or 2009, but there's definitely a shift. Personally, when my daughter turned 12, I took her into a branch and I said, you're going to open up your checking account. And this is what this means. And you're going to have this credit card. It's an ATM. And I placed $1,000 in her account. I said, this is your money, however you want to spend it. But remember, it's not a credit card, it's your money and you choose. And the first choice she had to make was, do I want checks with little puppies or do I want the free checks? And I left it up to her and I said, hey, do you want to spend whatever it was, I don't remember, or do you want free? You don't have to spend any money on your checks. And after giving her time to think about it, she says, no, I want the free checks. And so I said, okay, for now on, when you want something from the stores, we're going to pay with your debit card. And so I think that it is imperative, and I'm not sure I'm going off the subject right now, but
No, you are. Yeah,
I'm good. Okay, ladies.
Right, building wealth is saving.
Yes, and you know, I come from a very conservative family. If I earned back then $2, I would have to save $1. It was different times, but the same philosophy with our daughter. You know, if you earn this much, remember your needs, not your wants, and you have to save. And she's, like I said, she's getting married in October, and I told her, the kids, I said, you know, you need to buy a home. If it means sacrifices, you can't be going out, et cetera, you need to buy a home. And they did. Great sacrifice for them, but hey, they've got a very nice investment. And I think that, what was the question again? Because I'm going off topic, I think.
I know you've answered it. You've answered it. It's basically what have you learned from your family about building wealth?
Gosh,
and what are you teaching your children about building wealth? Which you did answer the question. It's a great job.
And I want to add, you know, my mother, we lost our mom last year, but she was thank you. She was such a powerful woman. And I think that's where I get it from. She was a go-getter. She started making Cuban tamales and croquettes for the Cuban social clubs in the area. And so she sold those wholesale. She took care of children, and she would sew for a local manufacturer. And then from there, when I started driving, we started going to the swap meet, and we sold at the swap meet for 13 years in the beautiful 1980s. We made great money, had a lot of fun, but that was always instilled in me, that you go to school, you get really good grades, you work hard, but there was always that side thing. Do your own thing. Think of what you like. What are you passionate about? And go with it. So I had a beautiful example. Yes.
So about saving and building wealth, entrepreneurship. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Maria, what are your thoughts on what have you learned from your family about building family wealth, and what are you teaching your children?
Is learn how to manage your money. So if you're making, you know, what is it, whatever, let's just throw out a number, $2,000, like Lourdes said, you want to know what's your budget. You can't go out and spend $2,500 or go over budget for that month. Just setting an example. But yeah, definitely manage your money and put money aside for rainy days. I remember my mom always constantly saying that. There's always going to be rainy days. I don't care. There's always this, and it is true. So it's just learning how to manage your money, go out and help people, be a good person, treat people fairly, you know, don't take advantage of people. And that's exactly what I always tell my 12-year-old son. I have a 12-year-old. I'm teaching him right now. He opened up a bank account at 5 and he just loves to see it grow. He's like, what's my balance? He doesn't use it. He doesn't ask for a card or anything. But he's very interested in learning how to invest. So I'm kind of opening that window. He started investing in little cartoon NFTs, and he put 50, now it's 100. So I think he's kind of showing me that he's getting interested in investing and also interested in like, okay, if we buy this home and it needs work, I told them on the next one, I'm going to take you and show you what it takes to turn it around completely and resell it and see what you can do. So he's also showing interest in that. But in the end, I always tell him, Jimmy, manage your money. And he's really good about that. Like I've given him money and he still has the same amount in his wallet. You know, even though school sells items and stuff, he's like, I said, Jimmy, you haven't bought anything? He's like, no. So he knows how to manage his money. And once it's gone, you have to re-earn it again. And I try to tell him, you're going to make an allowance, but you have to do these chores and show him a little bit of work ethic, because just like Sonia said, these kids want to be on the phone. And yes, he's like a Fortniter and all these games that are out there, but I limit him. You know, he gets good grades in school. I let him play. I'm not going to say no, you know, you can't do it, but I tell him you're going to have 1 hour to play. So enjoy it. But then we go back to your, you know, what you have to do. I keep him in sports. Keep your
Keeping
kid
them busy, out of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it sounds,
He's a
Maria,
basketball.
so it sounds like, again, from one of the teachings from your mother, which was being a money manager, it sounds like you're doing the
Manage
same.
the money. My mom was the backbone of the family.
Yeah, managing the money.
If it wasn't for her, we probably wouldn't have taken all the steps and moved from, for example, from Chicago to California and just upgraded from there. I think
Beautiful.
she was the one that would, you know, talk to my dad and convince him to do that, even though she's not the breadwinner. But I think just the fact that she motivated my father to take those steps is how we kind of climbed that stair.
We're able to build wealth as a family. Beautiful.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Maria. Sonia, as a
Okay, so
Hispanic female, como una Latina, what have you learned from your family and what are you teaching your children about building family wealth? We're going to end with your answer.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, well, I say that the woman has a huge role in the house. Like you say, your father was the one who's bring the bread, but your mother was the brain behind. So always the women were very strong. We're very strong mind. And we just, you know, we have a big responsibility with our kids. I'm a single mother. I always teach my kids, even I was traumatic for them sometimes when they was 4 or 5 years old. I used to say to them, you know, look at that homeless on the corner, look at that homeless over there, look at that guy with drugs. That is happening when somebody take the wrong street. So you better always concentrate yourself and study and do the right thing, because anything that you do, you always think is going to happen something bad or not. If it's something bad, don't do it. If it's something that is going to have a bad consequences in your life, don't do it. But first for you, you have to have education. And second, you have to be by your own. Don't come with a man. Don't think that a man is going to save your life. No. You have to study, you have to work, you have to make your life, your financial wealth stable, and then the guy. No, don't focus on that person as your savior. So my kids, I have 2 girls, they already married, the both of them. I'm very blessed. I have 2 sons also, so I have 4 now. And they study, they finish their college. I paid for them the first year. And I said, I'm not going to pay anymore. So you better start thinking what you're going to do. So they was spoiled when they was kids, but I never given them a phone until they was 18 years old. I never give a card to the first one because she was a little not too good to give a card to her. The second one, she was in the 16, she had a card. So the 18 suffered a little bit, but I had to take them to the school. I had to bring them back. Doesn't matter. Sometimes as the fathers, we want to be comfortable. Don't be comfortable, be uncomfortable. Because the kids, if you don't raise it as a mother, I'm going to say, and I'm an older woman, so a little wiser, I think, because I already live a lot. So I say, as a mothers, we have to sacrifice ourselves for our kids, because if we sacrifice, then we don't have to worry about ever. Because what we put the seeds, good seeds to our kids, is going to be forever. So my kids are studying in a private school. They went with a lot of sports. They was exhausted of sports. And they always complain to me from the 18 to the 24, Mommy, you was a mean mother. You left us in the school all the time. Oh my God, you pick it up as a 6. The police call. They think, and even the police call one day because I didn't pick it up then at the time. That's why they was feeling so suffering in the school. But at 6 o'clock, I knew they had to finish my open house and run to the school and pick it up my kids, because if no, I would be in trouble. So they never went 6-1 or 6 or 5. But in their mind, oh my God, I've been like forever in that school. And I said to them, if I left you in some places, what if you was doing? Maybe watching novelas, maybe you was doing something else that you're not supposed to. So thanks God that I put you in the school and I picked you up from there. So they studied, they graduated, they went to college, they went to university, and after they went to marry, and I say, what about the, home ownership? Hi, mommy, no,
So-
because what happened last time, everybody lose their homes, and they was afraid because they lived my life when I was, and in the 19, whatever, when was the crash. So
Yeah.
they saw all those things, and I say, no, I don't want to do that because I lost my condominiums, I lost I have 3 stores of clothing, so I lost everything. The only thing I hold was my house. So they saw me suffering all these years, and I didn't want it. I say, you have to believe. You have to say, you don't have to make the same mistakes I made. You can open yourself so much. You open little by little. So I teach my kids, and the both of them, they own a home. They are happily married. They have their jobs, and I'm so blessed. I just a
The
blessed mother.
education, it sounds like Sonia, the education, you taught them, you led by example, right? About building wealth through home ownership, and also
Yeah.
just the importance of being financially independent.
Financially
sounds like
independent
that's-
as a woman. Don't think in nobody else, just in your own pocket.
Yeah, so that sounds like a recurring theme. Any last words, ladies? Because we are pretty much about wrapping up. I wanted to say thank you so much for participating today on our National Hispanic Heritage Month, our opening day. Let's have a round of applause for one last time. Maria Cibrian with C21 All-Stars, Sonia Moncayo with eXp Realty, and Lourdes Cotaya with Sunrise Realty.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for sharing
you for
your
having
stories.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the Downey Association of Realtors for hosting us on this lovely Wednesday in September. Thank you so much, ladies. All those valuable tidbits of information and sharing your information about your family heritage, your immigration story, and all of that fascinating information about the wealth of information that you shared with us regarding the real estate industry and what your experience has been, and tidbits for everybody to use in their everyday business. Thank you so much, ladies. We're going to call